Welcome to today's 3-minute halacha. On Shabbos, you have to eat a minimum amount of the Lechem Mishne. The Ramah Orach Chaim, Siman Kuf Samach Zayin, writes that on Shabbat, when one is eating with a lot of people and you need to be able to give a kazayit to everyone, you can cut as much of the challah as you want. Ostensibly, this seems to mean that everyone has to eat a kazayit of the Lechem Mishnah on Shabbos. However, the Beis Yosef explains that this really is based on a halacha found in the Gemara in Brachot, Daf Lamed Tet Amud Bet, that says typically during the week you shouldn't cut too large of a piece of bread from a loaf because it appears to be gluttonous. Nevertheless, on Shabbos, explains the Gemara, it is permitted to do so because it looks then like you're approaching the mitzvah to eat on Shabbos enthusiastically. As a result, that comment of the Ramah may just be dealing with what we would call a question of manners. But on Shabbos, does everyone have to eat from the Lechem Mishnah? We find that on Shabbos it's best to cut a big enough piece in the beginning to suffice for the whole meal. That's in Reish Ayin Daled 274-2. However, there doesn't seem to be a requirement for individuals to eat specifically a kazayit from the Lechem Mishnah. A kazayit is about 1.1 ounces, about the size of a half a slice of bread, and is necessary in order to be able to bench. But do you have to have all of that bread just from the Lechem Mishnah? Or would it just be enough to have a little piece of Lechem Mishnah and then eat other bread? The Grot Moshe in Orach Chaim, Volume 5, Tshuva 16, says that that's actually the case. You don't need to have a full kazayit of the Lechem Mishnah, but you do need to supplement a small piece of Lechem Mishnah with something else. That, of course, being said, there are sources such as the Eliyahu Rabbah 174-2 and others who suggest that it's ideal to have at least a half a kazayit, which is a small piece of challah, but to have some of that challah to show that we're respecting the mitzvah itself, and therefore ideally, everyone should have at least a half a kazayit. It's about a little more than a half an ounce of bread from the Lechem Mishnah and supplemented with other bread as well. Of course, if one doesn't exactly like the kind of challah that's being served for Lechem Mishnah or there's a health concern, they can use other bread after a very small taste of the Lechem Mishnah. Similarly, hosts who make a motzi on a loaf that may not have enough for a kazayit or even a half a kazayit, very large groups, for example, can serve other bread and not feel bad about it. One who's careful, however, to provide a kazayit to each guest from the Lechem Mishnah writes the Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata in chapter 55:24, note 15, that such a person who provides the kazayit is praiseworthy. So it's ideal to eat a kazayit from a Lechem Mishnah, not required, and at least a half a kazayit is best, but even then, it's not required.